Elena and Marcus met at a small art gallery in the city, both standing in front of the same painting, reaching for the same brochure, and laughing at the coincidence. There was no dramatic spark at first, no fireworks or sudden rush of destiny. Instead, there was curiosity, mutual recognition of a shared aesthetic, and the quiet comfort of someone who seemed to understand without words. Over coffee afterward, their conversation drifted from the art to their lives, small confessions about what they valued, what frightened them, and what they dreamed of building. In that first meeting, neither of them realized that they were planting the seeds of partnership, a relationship that would be defined not just by affection, but by the deliberate choices they would make together, day after day, as they navigated the complexities of shared life. It was the start of something subtle, profound, and enduring. The early months were full of small, shared decisions, from where to meet for dinner to which movie to watch, from choosing weekend trips to planning how to spend holidays. Each decision was a negotiation, a quiet test of compatibility, patience, and empathy. Marcus noticed that Elena had a way of approaching problems with calm clarity, while he sometimes acted on instinct and emotion. Elena, in turn, observed how Marcus's spontaneity could lead to both unexpected joy and occasional chaos. They began to understand that making decisions together was not just about compromise. It was about dialogue, trust, and learning to balance their perspectives without diminishing either one. The mundane became sacred, the choice of which route to take on a walk, which cafe to linger in, which playlist to share on a long drive. All of it was practice, a rehearsal for the life they would eventually build. One Saturday morning, they faced a larger decision, renting an apartment together. They toured spaces, weighed pros and cons, argued gently over details like the size of the kitchen, the proximity to work, and the natural light in the living room. Each disagreement was met with listening, not dismissal. Each compromise was followed by gratitude rather than resentment. Marcus realized that shared decisions were a mirror, a reflection of character, values, and priorities. Elena noticed that the way he approached these choices revealed his integrity, his willingness to consider her perspective without erasing his own. By the time they signed the lease, their relationship felt sturdier. It wasn't just affection that held them together. It was respect, collaboration, and the quiet understanding that building a life together required daily attentiveness, not grand gestures alone. The first months in the apartment tested them in ways neither could have anticipated. Bills arrived, small frustrations emerged, and routines settled into patterns that required negotiation. Who would take out the trash, when to grocery shop, how to split chores fairly. Each choice carried weight, because it reflected not just efficiency, but care for one another. Marcus discovered that patience was as important as problem-solving, while Elena realized that flexibility sometimes mattered more than precision. They began to celebrate not just successes, but the moments in which they navigated disagreement without conflict. First love may be passionate, but partnership requires something different. A steady willingness to decide together, to act together, and to trust that even when perspectives diverge, the bond is stronger than any single opinion. Their first vacation together became another milestone, a series of shared choices that illuminated their compatibility and tested their patience. From selecting destinations to booking accommodations, from planning activities to managing travel delays, every step was a joint effort. Arguments occasionally flared. Marcus wanted spontaneity, Elena wanted structure, but they learned to negotiate with humor and care. By the end of the trip, they realized something profound. Happiness in a relationship is not about agreeing on everything, but about finding harmony in disagreement, about respecting the other's desires while asserting your own, and about building memories that reflect both of you, not just one. Their connection deepened, not through romance alone, but through the deliberate act of shared decision-making. As months passed, Elena and Marcus began to confront decisions that reached beyond day-to-day logistics into the deeper currents of their lives together. One evening, over a quiet dinner in their small apartment, they discussed career changes and the possibility of relocation, a move that could offer him a promotion, but would take them far from the city they had grown to love. The conversation was long, thoughtful, sometimes tense, yet never unkind. Marcus spoke about ambition and opportunity, about wanting to contribute meaningfully in his field, while Elena shared her fears about leaving family, friends, and the life she had carefully cultivated. They explored contingencies, weighed benefits and sacrifices, and imagined multiple futures. By the time the conversation ended, they had not simply decided where to move or stay. They had learned something more profound about each other. They had seen each other's values in action, experienced patience, empathy, and courage, and discovered that making shared decisions is as much about understanding the soul of your partner as it is about the outcome itself. The apartment felt warmer that night, not because of the heater or the candles, but because they had built a deeper bridge of trust, brick by careful brick. The first major financial choice they faced together tested their partnership in ways they had not anticipated. Saving for a down payment on a home required a level of planning, discipline, and long-term vision that neither had experienced before. They sat at the kitchen table for hours, spreadsheets and bank statements spread around them, discussing budgets, priorities, and compromises. Marcus sometimes wanted to prioritize travel, while Elena favored security and careful investment. Arguments surfaced, not loud, but persistent, reflecting the tension of two strong wills learning to align. Yet through these discussions, something remarkable happened. They learned to listen, not merely to respond, to compromise, not merely to concede. The act of deciding together became more than practical. It became an expression of respect, of shared purpose, of willingness to grow individually without undermining the other. By the time they closed their first joint account, they were not only closer financially, but emotionally bonded in a way that only shared responsibility can create. It was in these negotiations, in these unglamorous but consequential decisions, that the foundation of their future was quietly laid. Life introduced unexpected challenges, small crises that tested their communication and patience. One rainy weekend, the pipes in their building burst, flooding part of their apartment. They stood together in the chaos, soaked and frustrated, surrounded by water and ruined possessions. It would have been easy to blame, to panic, or to retreat into separate mental spaces. But they did something different. They coordinated calmly, dividing tasks, calling the landlord, salvaging what they could, and supporting each other through the stress. The experience, while inconvenient and exhausting, revealed something essential. That partnership is not only about planning for ideal circumstances, but about responding to adversity as a united front. The ability to make decisions together under pressure, to communicate clearly, and to preserve empathy when emotions run high, became as vital to their relationship as the joy and comfort they shared in calmer moments. They emerged from the incident not simply as a couple who endured a flood, but as a team with reinforced trust, capable of facing the unexpected without fracture. As the seasons changed, so did the scale of their shared decisions. Elena and Marcus began to explore more significant life choices, whether to pursue graduate studies, adopt a pet, or consider long-term investments that could affect their future stability. Each choice required them to articulate hopes, fears, and priorities while remaining sensitive to the other's perspective. There were moments of tension, of disagreement, of silence heavy with contemplation. But each conversation, each debate, each compromise wove another layer into the fabric of their connection. They began to understand that the beauty of partnership is not the absence of difficulty, but the capacity to navigate complexity together. Love, in this sense, was less about romance and more about alignment. the steady, patient work of moving in synchrony while honoring differences. And as they walked home from another day discussing the future, hands intertwined, they felt a quiet satisfaction that choosing together, consciously and respectfully, was as intimate as any kiss, as profound as any declaration. Their first major travel adventure as a couple became a microcosm of their partnership. They planned a month-long trip to a foreign country, navigating flights, accommodations, cultural differences, and unexpected delays. At times, fatigue or frustration led to minor conflicts. Marcus wanted to explore without a strict itinerary, while Elena valued structure and safety. Yet these challenges became opportunities to refine their collaborative approach. They learned when to yield, when to assert, when to pause and discuss, and when to trust the other's intuition. Each successful negotiation, each compromise that left both satisfied, reinforced a profound truth. Partnership is a constant series of choices, big and small, that accumulate into shared life. By the end of the trip, standing together on a cliff overlooking the ocean, they felt not only exhilaration from adventure, but a deeper intimacy born from intentional decision-making. The horizon stretched before them, wide and open, yet they felt grounded, because they had learned to face it together. As the couple moved further into their shared life, they faced one of the first truly defining decisions: whether to adopt a pet. It seemed simple at first, a dog, a cat, a companion, but quickly became a mirror for their values, patience, and approach to responsibility. Marcus favored a more active dog that would require long walks and playful energy, seeing it as a source of shared adventure. Elena, cautious yet thoughtful, considered a quieter companion, one that could coexist peacefully with their routines and responsibilities. They spent evenings researching breeds, visiting shelters, discussing allergies, time commitments, and long-term care. Arguments arose, minor yet charged, as each defended their perspective. Yet every disagreement was tempered by deep listening and care. Neither wanted to dominate. Both wanted mutual fulfillment. When they finally decided on a gentle, medium-sized rescue dog, the decision carried the weight of their first significant compromise as a household. The dog became more than a pet. It became a living testament to their ability to make meaningful, thoughtful decisions together, to negotiate priorities without eroding love, and to celebrate shared responsibility as an expression of trust and care. The next significant challenge arrived unexpectedly when Marcus received a lucrative job offer in another city. The opportunity was enticing: career advancement, increased stability, recognition, yet it required them to leave the home they had nurtured together, the neighborhood filled with memories, and a social circle they had both grown comfortable with. The decision demanded long, deliberate conversations. Marcus weighing ambition against shared stability, Elena considering personal growth and emotional well-being against attachment to home. Nights stretched into early mornings as they debated, sketched pros and cons, imagined future scenarios, and quietly worried about resentment or regret. It was exhausting, emotional, and raw. And yet, in that process, their bond strengthened. They realized that shared decisions are not about convenience or unilateral choice. They are about aligning values, dreaming together, and trusting the other's judgment. When they eventually chose to move, it was not simply a relocation. It was a conscious act of partnership, a shared leap of faith that deepened their intimacy far beyond words. The move itself was a test of endurance, patience, and coordination. Packing, selling furniture, navigating logistics, and saying heartfelt goodbyes to friends and neighbors stretched their energy and patience to limits neither had anticipated. There were moments of tension, a lost document here, a forgotten item there, and moments of fatigue that made irritation flare. But every problem they solved together, every logistical obstacle they overcame, reinforced a truth that Marcus and Elena had slowly internalized. True partnership is forged in action as much as in intention. By the time the boxes were unloaded into their new apartment, they felt victorious not just for having survived the move, but for having done it together without resentment, without blame, and without sacrificing the care they felt for one another. In that achievement, mundane as it may seem to outsiders, they discovered a quiet power in collaboration, the knowledge that together they could face any life challenge without fracturing. Settling into their new city, Elena and Marcus began facing the subtleties of blending routines, preferences, and personal rhythms. The apartment required adjustments: where furniture should go, how to organize the kitchen, which local markets were best, how to coordinate morning schedules. These were not glamorous decisions, but they were profoundly formative. Marcus learned to appreciate Elena's meticulous attention to detail and how it made the space more livable and comforting. Elena learned to value Marcus's spontaneous creativity, which infused their home with energy, movement, and joy. Every small negotiation, a plant on the windowsill, the placement of a reading lamp, the rotation of household chores, became a meditation on balance, mutual respect, and prioritizing connection over ego. By navigating these seemingly small choices with attention and care, they discovered that life together is a series of accumulative decisions that shape not just a household, but the emotional landscape of a relationship. The first health scare they faced as a couple tested their capacity for empathy, cooperation, and shared responsibility. Elena experienced sudden, unexpected illness, requiring doctor visits, medications, and rest. Marcus shifted his routine to provide care, meals, and comfort, often sacrificing his own personal time and work priorities. At the same time, Elena grappled with guilt, fear, and frustration over her dependency, and she struggled to accept the care she needed. Through it all, they communicated constantly, adjusted plans, anticipated needs, and learned to balance support with autonomy. Marcus discovered the delicate art of offering help without smothering. Elena discovered the grace of receiving support without diminishing independence. This shared trial became a crucible, solidifying the principle that partnership is not about equality in strength or energy at every moment, but about intentionally making decisions together that uphold the well-being and dignity of both people, even under duress. They emerged not only closer but wiser, understanding that love is not only romantic but active, intentional, and resilient. As time went on, Marcus and Elena began to face the complexities of career growth and ambition, balancing professional opportunities with their shared life. Marcus received an offer to lead a high-profile project that required frequent travel, while Elena was considering returning to school for a master's degree in a field she was passionate about. Their conversations stretched late into nights, fueled by coffee, ambition, and concern for each other's happiness. It was no longer about choosing a restaurant or a weekend trip. It was about shaping the trajectory of their lives together while respecting individual growth. They debated, sometimes heatedly, but always listened. Marcus admitted fear of losing the stability they had built. Elena confessed anxiety about delaying her education. Together, they created a plan that honored both their needs: shared travel schedules, temporary adjustments, and explicit commitments to check in and support each other. In that delicate dance, they discovered a profound truth. Shared decisions are not sacrifices. They are exercises in trust, empathy, and co-creation, and the act of collaborating on life itself deepens love far beyond passion or romance. The couple's first large-scale financial decision came in the form of buying a car together, a seemingly simple choice that quickly revealed underlying differences in priorities, aesthetics, and long-term thinking. Marcus wanted practicality and efficiency. Elena wanted style and comfort. They debated models, mileage, insurance, and financing for days. But more than the car itself, the process revealed their evolving communication skills. They began to articulate not only what they wanted, but why they wanted it, explaining values behind each preference. Marcus explained the importance of reliability, responsibility, and low maintenance. Elena described how comfort and aesthetics impacted emotional well-being and daily satisfaction. In negotiating these differences, they learned that making decisions together is less about winning and more about understanding. When they finally settled on a car that satisfied both, they didn't just have a vehicle. They had a reaffirmed connection, proof that thoughtful dialogue, patience, and compromise could produce solutions that were better than either might have chosen alone. One of the most transformative shared decisions came when they began considering moving into a house of their own, transitioning from apartment life to long-term commitment. They toured neighborhoods, weighed school districts, proximity to work, the potential for home improvement, and the emotional resonance of each space. These discussions stretched over weeks, often accompanied by sketches, pros and cons lists, and sometimes heated debates. It became clear that they were not merely choosing a physical space. They were choosing a vision of life together, negotiating dreams, fears, and expectations. Marcus worried about overextending financially. Elena worried about sacrificing convenience for aesthetics. They challenged each other, supported each other, and ultimately created a shared vision that balanced ambition with caution. When they finally signed the papers on their first home, it was not just a legal milestone. It was a testament to their capacity for collaboration, foresight, and shared responsibility, a tangible embodiment of the life they had decided to build together, brick by deliberate brick. Living together in their new home, Elena and Marcus encountered the subtle friction of long-term cohabitation, the small but persistent disagreements over daily routines, decor, chores, and personal habits. What could have become tension-filled conflicts instead became exercises in understanding. Marcus learned to notice Elena's unspoken signals when she needed quiet or space, while Elena began to recognize when Marcus needed autonomy to recharge. Every minor negotiation, whose turn it was to clean the bathroom, whether the living room curtains should be drawn, what temperature to maintain at night, became a meditation in empathy, compromise, and prioritizing the other's comfort alongside one's own. They discovered that partnership is less about harmony in every choice and more about sustaining care through the inevitable misalignments of daily life. By practicing attentiveness and grace in mundane decisions, they were building resilience, intimacy, and the quiet satisfaction that comes from knowing love is demonstrated not only through words, but through the repeated acts of making life together work. Perhaps the most profound lesson came when they faced an unexpected health challenge for one of them, requiring urgent medical attention, lifestyle adjustments, and emotional support. The incident forced Marcus and Elena to navigate fear, responsibility, and uncertainty together. They coordinated appointments, researched treatment options, managed medications, and reassured each other in moments of anxiety. Every action was a decision, some logistical, some emotional, all requiring collaboration. In facing the unexpected, they discovered the full depth of shared life. That love is most fully expressed when it is active, intentional, and responsive to circumstance. They learned that decisions made under pressure reveal character, patience, and empathy more than any romantic gesture ever could. By the time the crisis stabilized, they were not only relieved but transformed. Their partnership had deepened in a way that only collective perseverance, thoughtful compromise, and mutual care can achieve, creating a foundation for a life built not just on affection, but on shared agency, trust, and enduring respect. As the years progressed, Elena and Marcus began to discuss a future that involved more than just themselves, the possibility of children, family planning, and how they wanted to structure a life together in a broader sense. These conversations were slow, deliberate, and sometimes uncomfortable, because they touched on hopes, fears, and insecurities that neither had fully faced before. Marcus wondered whether parenthood would allow him to maintain his professional ambitions while still being present. Elena feared losing independence and identity amidst the demands of raising a family. They spent nights discussing values, education philosophies, and long-term goals, sketching out possible scenarios with honesty and vulnerability. Each discussion was an exercise in empathy, patience, and the careful alignment of dreams. By sharing these intimate deliberations, they discovered that partnership is not only about compromise, but about creating a life vision together, a blueprint that honors both individuals while fostering a shared purpose. Every decision became a touchstone of trust, a demonstration that they were willing to navigate even the most personal challenges side by side. When the time came to make decisions about professional growth, they approached it as a team rather than as isolated individuals. Marcus was offered a leadership role that required long hours but promised career acceleration. Elena was invited to lead a collaborative research project that would take her abroad for 6 months. They mapped out schedules, contingencies, and support structures, considering not only what each role meant personally, but how it would affect the partnership. There were late-night debates, moments of doubt, and tears of frustration, but always a commitment to mutual respect. Marcus learned to temper ambition with consideration for the relationship, while Elena discovered the courage to pursue personal growth without guilt. By the time the final decisions were made, they had created a framework that allowed both to pursue their professional goals while maintaining the integrity and stability of their shared life. In these moments, they realized that shared decision-making is less about convenience and more about deliberately shaping the trajectory of life together, ensuring that neither person sacrifices selfhood for partnership. Travel became another arena for shared decision-making, turning simple trips into lessons in collaboration, compromise, and creativity. Whether choosing a city, planning an itinerary, or navigating delays and unexpected challenges, they learned to balance spontaneity with structure, adventure with practicality. Elena often planned meticulously, considering local culture, safety, and efficient use of time, while Marcus preferred flexibility, valuing experiences that arose unexpectedly and unplanned. By negotiating, compromising, and occasionally surrendering individual preference, they discovered a rhythm that celebrated both approaches. The journey itself became a metaphor for their relationship, a mixture of foresight and trust, preparation and surrender. Every trip deepened their understanding that partnership is not about identical desires, but about harmonizing differences, recognizing strengths, and creating shared memories that reflect both people equally. The couple faced one of their first true emotional crises together when a close family member of Elena's fell seriously ill. Decisions about care, travel, time off work, and emotional presence required coordination, flexibility, and profound empathy. Marcus assumed responsibilities willingly, attending medical appointments, managing household duties, and providing quiet support during moments of stress. Elena, while grappling with fear and worry, found reassurance in Marcus's consistent presence and thoughtful guidance. Together, they navigated the uncertainty, negotiating every step with care and attention. The experience revealed that partnership is not only about joy and mutual benefit, but about endurance, shared resilience, and the capacity to make decisions under pressure while preserving dignity, love, and compassion. By the end of the ordeal, their bond was strengthened not merely through intimacy or passion, but through the demonstrated ability to act as a cohesive, dependable unit during life's most challenging moments. Financial planning became a more intentional part of their lives as they considered long-term investments, savings for home improvements, and budgeting for future family needs. These conversations, while practical, were profoundly revealing. Marcus was inclined toward calculated risks and growth opportunities, while Elena leaned toward stability and security. Each discussion required articulation of priorities, negotiation of values, and careful listening. They discovered that shared decision-making in finances is about more than numbers. It is about trust, transparency, and honoring each other's perspective. By aligning financial strategies, creating shared goals, and negotiating compromises with empathy, they built not only security, but also confidence in the partnership itself. Each joint choice, no matter how mundane, became another layer of interdependence, proving that the foundation of their life together was constructed through deliberate, thoughtful collaboration rather than chance or convenience. As their careers and personal lives matured, Elena and Marcus began tackling home improvement projects together, painting walls, assembling furniture, and designing spaces that reflected both their tastes and needs. Each task required discussion, negotiation, and shared labor, turning simple chores into lessons in collaboration. Marcus sometimes prioritized efficiency, rushing to finish a project quickly, while Elena emphasized aesthetics and careful planning. Their debates, though occasional, became opportunities to practice patience, communication, and empathy. Together, they discovered that shared labor, whether physical or emotional, is a form of intimacy. Completing a home project was no longer just about a finished room or a decorative result. It was about learning to navigate differences without resentment, celebrating small victories together, and recognizing that every choice, no matter how minor, contributes to the tapestry of a shared life. The couple also explored joint creative pursuits, from cooking elaborate meals to designing small art projects for their home. These endeavors highlighted the complementary nature of their personalities. Marcus's impulsive energy and Elena's meticulous care blended into outcomes neither could have achieved alone. They learned to adapt, anticipate each other's needs, and trust instincts while maintaining dialogue. Shared creativity became a metaphor for their partnership, a reminder that decisions made together are not merely compromises, but opportunities to generate something entirely new and meaningful. Each project reinforced a sense of co-authorship in life, that their journey was not a solo narrative running in parallel, but a combined story shaped by intentional choices, mutual respect, and shared joy. As adulthood progressed, they faced decisions involving extended family and social obligations, holidays, weddings, reunions, and significant life events. These situations tested their ability to negotiate priorities without losing sight of their own needs. Marcus learned to balance family expectations with the couple's autonomy, while Elena discovered how to assert personal boundaries respectfully. Together, they created traditions that reflected both of them. Alternating holidays, shared rituals that incorporated extended family, while preserving their own rhythms, and moments of solitude that allowed each person to recharge emotionally. These shared decisions, while less dramatic than career moves or financial planning, proved essential to sustaining a balanced, supportive partnership. They realized that the everyday choices surrounding social and familial obligations are as crucial to a successful life together as the grand, high-stakes decisions, because they shape daily rhythm, satisfaction, and mutual respect. Unexpected challenges continued to emerge, as they inevitably do in life. Health scares, job transitions, and personal setbacks forced Elena and Marcus to practice resilience together. Each challenge required thoughtful decision-making, communication, and emotional alignment. Marcus's approach was often pragmatic and solution-oriented, while Elena's perspective leaned toward emotional nuance and long-term impact. Through negotiation, compromise, and deep listening, they learned to merge their approaches into cohesive strategies. The couple discovered that the true strength of shared decision-making lies not in always agreeing, but in the consistent effort to consider each other's perspective, respect differences, and co-create solutions that honor both parties. By navigating these challenges together, their bond deepened, not just through love, but through shared competence, trust, and the quiet reassurance that life's difficulties are more manageable when faced as a team. As they celebrated another anniversary in their home, the couple reflected on the cumulative impact of their shared choices. From mundane decisions about decor, chores, and daily routines, to monumental choices about careers, relocation, family planning, and personal growth, each moment had contributed to a rich, resilient partnership. They realized that love alone was never enough. It was the deliberate, consistent act of making decisions together, listening, compromising, balancing ambition with care, that sustained their connection. Sitting together in the evening light, they understood that partnership is a living process, ongoing, evolving, and nurtured through attention, empathy, and shared responsibility. They were not merely a romantic couple. They were collaborators, allies, co-creators of a life that reflected both their individual identities and their combined vision, proof that shared decision-making is at the heart of enduring love. The arrival of their first child brought both joy and unprecedented challenges. Decisions that had once been about schedules, careers, or travel now involve feeding, sleep, education, and emotional well-being. Marcus and Elena discovered the delicate balance of parenthood, negotiating roles, managing exhaustion, and maintaining connection as partners while being attentive as parents. Every choice, whether about bedtime routines, pediatric visits, or parenting philosophies, demanded collaboration, flexibility, and empathy. Marcus learned to slow down and consider emotional nuances, while Elena discovered the art of delegating and trusting intuition in the moment. Through this, they realized that parenthood is not only about raising a child, but about refining the practice of shared life, testing patience, and strengthening the bonds that make a partnership resilient. As their child grew, so did the complexity of their family decisions. From schooling to extracurricular activities, from vacations to budgeting for future needs, each step required careful discussion and alignment. They discovered that the art of shared decision-making is about balancing immediate desires with long-term goals, individual perspectives with collective priorities. Marcus began to appreciate how Elena's foresight protected them from unnecessary risk, while Elena embraced Marcus's spontaneity as a source of creativity and joy. Together, they learned to navigate differing opinions without letting disagreements undermine mutual respect. Each decision became a building block for trust, a demonstration of reliability, and a testament to the understanding that love flourishes most when it is active, thoughtful, and consciously exercised. The couple's engagement with their broader community further tested their ability to make decisions as a team. Whether volunteering, participating in neighborhood projects, or coordinating family events, they encountered situations that required compromise, diplomacy, and prioritization. Marcus often leaned toward action and immediate solutions, while Elena emphasized consideration, inclusivity, and long-term impact. Their dialogue, negotiation, and co-created strategies ensured that both voices were heard and that outcomes reflected shared values. Through these experiences, they discovered that decision-making in partnership extends beyond the household, influencing the quality of their engagement with the world. Their shared agency became a model for their child and for friends alike, demonstrating that mutual respect, attentive listening, and collaborative problem-solving enrich not only private life, but the community surrounding it. Years later, as they contemplated moving to a larger home to accommodate their growing family, the couple confronted financial and emotional stakes greater than ever. They reviewed budgets, schools, commute times, and social networks, realizing that each factor carried not only practical implications, but emotional weight. Late nights became planning sessions, discussions sometimes heated, but always rooted in love and respect. Marcus came to value the detailed analysis and foresight Elena brought to each decision, while Elena learned to embrace the courage and optimism Marcus contributed. Their combined strengths allowed them to navigate complexity with grace, reaching decisions that were sustainable and fulfilling. The experience confirmed that shared decision-making is the backbone of lifelong partnership, a continuous negotiation that binds individuals together through intention, understanding, and mutual commitment. The couple faced another test when one of them considered a significant career pivot, a move that could enhance personal fulfillment but disrupt family stability. Their discussions were exhaustive, exploring logistics, emotional readiness, and potential impact on their child. Marcus and Elena listened actively, weighed each factor, and acknowledged the fears and desires that arose. By prioritizing open communication and transparency, they reached a solution that balanced ambition with responsibility. The experience reinforced a vital lesson. Partnership is not about eliminating challenges, but confronting them together with trust, patience, and shared vision. Each decision, from the smallest chore to life-altering choices, became a reflection of their values, demonstrating that intentional collaboration fosters not only harmony but resilience. As adulthood deepened, they embraced the subtleties of maintaining connection amidst the demands of work, parenting, and social obligations. They scheduled quiet evenings, date nights, and reflective conversations, always conscious that decisions about time together were as significant as career or financial choices. Marcus and Elena discovered that shared decision-making is also about choosing intimacy, presence, and emotional alignment. Planning a weekend getaway, selecting books to read together, or deciding how to spend a Sunday afternoon became exercises in empathy and mutual joy. They recognized that sustaining love requires continuous attention to each other's needs, desires, and evolving perspectives. Each act of joint choice reaffirmed their bond, underscoring that partnership is a living, active practice, a lifelong commitment to care, understand, and grow together. Unexpected crises continued to test their resilience. Health scares, family emergencies, and sudden financial obligations arose over the years. Every challenge required swift, thoughtful decisions, balancing practicality with emotional support. Marcus learned to trust Elena's instincts, even when they differed from his own, while Elena learned to appreciate Marcus's decisiveness and capacity for calm action. Each shared decision strengthened their mutual confidence and reaffirmed their partnership. They realized that love is not only a feeling but a practice, a continuous engagement with life's unpredictability, navigated hand in hand. Their ability to make deliberate choices together created a framework for stability, growth, and mutual fulfillment, demonstrating that enduring relationships are built through shared agency rather than luck or circumstance. Over time, they reflected on how their relationship had evolved. From choosing a cafe table to negotiating careers, from home projects to parenting, the act of making decisions together had become the essence of their love. They understood that partnership is not a static state, but a dynamic process, requiring constant attention, adaptation, and shared responsibility. Each choice reinforced trust, nurtured understanding, and cultivated intimacy. Marcus and Elena recognized that the depth of their connection was measured not by grand gestures or moments of passion, but by the steady, thoughtful commitment to navigating life as a team. Shared decisions had shaped not just their home or schedules, but their hearts, values, and sense of purpose. As their child grew into adolescence, they faced yet another layer of shared responsibility, guiding, mentoring, and modeling decision-making. Elena and Marcus realized that every choice they made together had ripple effects, shaping the child's understanding of communication, compromise, and mutual respect. They discussed boundaries, education, and life values openly, aligning their approaches to demonstrate consistency, fairness, and empathy. Each decision became a lesson for themselves and for their child in the power of thoughtful collaboration. In navigating these responsibilities, they discovered a profound truth that partnership, exercised through intentional decision-making, not only sustains love, but creates a legacy of integrity, trust, and resilience that extends beyond the couple themselves. Finally, as the years unfolded, Elena and Marcus reflected on the life they had built together, a life defined by collaboration, empathy, and intentionality. They recognized that their love had not endured because of chance, passion, or romance alone, but because every decision, large or small, had been made with care, attention, and mutual respect. From mundane daily choices to life-altering decisions about career, family, and personal growth, they had learned that partnership is a continuous practice of aligning hearts, minds, and actions. Sitting together in their home, watching their child play, they understood that shared decision-making is the ultimate expression of love. It transforms challenges into growth, conflicts into understanding, and ordinary moments into enduring connection. Their journey proved that life's greatest fulfillment comes not from solitary achievement, but from co-creating a path together, step by deliberate step, choice by thoughtful choice.